This is new. This is part of that next quad of space that we were talking about that is going to add 4 times the capacity that we have in place right now. But it's a good place to see sort of the size of one of the manufacturing units, one of the construction units. When we talk about a section, it's around 200,000 square feet if you look at it from above, and you can see all 4 walls from where we're standing right now. So section B, section C, section A, they're all roughly about this size. It's a 3-story building. For the most part, we're looking at the floor where level 2 is in the factory. You can see over there where there is no level 2. Up above that is the floor of level 3. And then, of course, the roof above that. There are some areas where there will never be a level 2 because the equipment's so tall that it won't fit under the floor. So we just don't even put the structure in place. Those tools just go all the way up to the bottom of level 3. You'll see an example of that here. First rooms we go into. But this is how big a section is. There are 4 in place right now. This 5th one being built is part of 4 that are being built at the south end of the factory. There's also another section, a 5th section that's being built on the north end of the factory. That 5th section will be Tesla manufacturing space. It allows for some of this vertical integration that we're talking about, more of the battery enclosure and other manufacturing that feeds into the battery packs that are being shipped to Fremont for the assembly lines up there. All right, looks like the next group is coming in. Let's keep going. It will get consumed by Model 3. Yeah, so they're making an S and X there right now. So they'll start making Model 3 in that same factory. One thing I like to point out as we go through here, those red nozzles are part of an air shower that's used to clean material and people, frankly, that go into that part of the manufacturing space. Some of the manufacturing is sensitive to dirt, to particles, or humidity. So these rooms are clean and they're also dry. And we use air showers and other things to keep things clean as we move in and out of the different rooms. You'll see some of the rooms we go into, there'll be these giant sort of double-sided tape sticky pads that are on the ground. They're removing dirt from your shoes, trying to keep the space clean on the inside.
Это была аэродуш для очистки от пыли людей и оборудования.
I like to point out this is an intersection of some major material flow lanes in the factory. So think about the factory, you think about all the utilities, the gases and the chemicals and things like that, and the piping that needs to go in here. Material flow, so the flow of raw materials in and the flow of product going from one step in the process to the next step of the process also needs kind of an infrastructure that you can count on, an architecture for the factory to make sure that we have good flow throughout the life of the factory. So we're just standing in the furthest east part of the factory, maybe the first third of the factory that's being built. As we make our way west, we need to have a good flow lane for all the material and all the equipment moving all the way to the far west end of the factory.
Матрица.
Yeah, so this is one of the first manufacturing rooms. There's no equipment in here yet. The Panasonic part of the process is still being populated with equipment, so you'll see a lot of equipment that we go through as we go through this part of the tour. Some of it's energized and ready to go, some of it's still going through installation. And this room is used for mixing of chemicals. As we go into the next room, the experts, they'll tell you a little bit more about how those chemicals are used. But the mixing of separate chemicals to get the chemistry right for the next step of the process occurs in this space. Not much to see here right now. There will be baths and that sort of thing used for using chemicals when all this equipment comes in. We do have so for cell manufacturing, we have raw materials coming in the form of powder. So powder and then water mixed together. We also have steel for the cell assembly. So this is a 2170 cell. So the cans, the little cylinder that all the chemistry goes inside of is also formed here on site. So we get giant rolls of steel in, and then they make these little canisters out of that steel, and also the caps that are on the end of the 2170. So 2170 nomenclature is the size of the cell, and that looks like an 18650. Yeah, so we have both sizes here side by side. The numbers indicate the diameter and the length of the cell. The 18650 is what's in your Model S and your Model X right now. 2170 is what the Model 3 will be based on. Okay, is it clear? Everybody's asking me that question. I don't know the answer. Come on in.
You could ask that question over here.
Yeah. All right, guys, you're up.
Welcome, everybody. So what you just walked through was the cathode mixing section. You're now in the coat and dry section. So we receive both our active anode and cathode material as dry powders. However, to apply them to our substrates, we need them to be liquids. So what we do is take a solvent and mix it with the material to turn it into a solid liquid slurry. So we take that slurry out of those vessels in that last room, pump them up and all the way down to the end, to the last chamber on the ground floor here. So in there we have this very large roll of aluminum foil that we unwind as we pull it through the oven section on the bottom floor here. We have a coating head, which is very similar to how ink is actually deposited on a piece of paper. And we use that to deposit a very thin layer of slurry onto this metal substrate. As it comes towards us, we have several sections of air addition and removal. We use that air at very specific flow rates and temperatures to dry the solvent and evaporate it off of the substrate in a very prescribed fashion. By the time it gets to the end here, all the slurry has evaporated off, all the solvent has evaporated off, and we now have this dry, solid layer of active material that is stuck onto our metal substrate. We take that and we turn it vertical here, go up to our second coating booth. What was the bottom is now the top. We coat that new top section and then run it back to the top of the oven in the same fashion. So when we get to the end, we have one very thin piece of metal substrate and active material stuck to both sides of it. So as the air enters each chamber and as it leaves, it's picking up solvent from the liquid phase into the vapor. So as all the air leaves, instead of just venting into the atmosphere, carrying all the solvent with it, we combine all those outlet ducts together into one large duct, which you see at the very end of the room running horizontally there, which then goes through that wall into our second floor. We have a solvent recovery system where we scrub that solvent back out of the air to clean the air, and then the air turns right around, comes back through that other duct, and then back into the oven. So the air is in a closed loop and never leaves the building. The solvent we just pulled into the liquid phase, we pump out to a utility yard where we treat and clean the solvent, and then the solvent itself is sent right back into our mixing room too. So both the air and the solvent are closed loop, never leaving the building. So this single tool here, this large oven, used to be the largest power consumer of any part of the factory. But over the past year, Tesla and Panasonic engineers have worked together, and we've been able to re-engineer how this oven operates and how that solvent recovery system operates. And in doing so, we've been able to cut the power consumption of the system by about 80%. So this is oven 1 of phase 1 of Gigafactory 1. And by investing these resources up front to optimize these systems, all those savings now propagate to every other oven we have in the future. So this is oven 1 for the whole building, and right here in a few months will be oven 2. Any questions?
All right, let's keep going.
Right?
Thank you.
Right now we're walking in Fremont. There's a lot of pipes. That is a great question. Yeah, I saw this really cool golf cart that So just as a reminder, we're walking north right now, so we're going from section C to section B. When we get over to the Tesla part, that will be section A. Yes, we're walking through the Panasonic part right now. It's really awesome to have them right here on site. We can learn so fast about what's working well and what's not. If we need to fine-tune the process, we can turn it around very quickly. So a really good partnership. This area is operated by Panasonic. We own the building, they own the equipment, and they run the equipment in this project we're walking through right now. Yeah, so the question was how many of the cells, what percentage are being consumed by Tesla? 100% of the cells that are manufactured in this factory will go into Model 3 vehicles. Okay. You notice a little transition. The floor just went from the concrete to this epoxy floor. This has static dissipation properties, so it protects the equipment for the people that are working in here. It's less likely to build up a static charge and have a little shock when you touch things. Currently planned that way, but I can see how we would be doing that.
Are these magnetic strips in the floor?
Yeah, so the magnetic strips in the floor are for the automated guided vehicles that handle the very large coils coming out of that last process step. This is a step where we press the coils or the material, the film that was described in the last step. You press it to prescribed thickness. And the coils are very large, they're very heavy, so they're handled by automated guided vehicles. You'll see one as we make the turn over there on the way out. It's used for coil handling. We also have an area in here where we can queue up materials that go from one production line to the other. Not all the lines are perfectly balanced, and especially when the factory is new and we're just learning. You can go ahead and go in there if you want. As we're just learning how to manufacture, we're just qualifying the equipment. There's a lot of variation in the process, and one thing that we need is an area to put all the material to account for the variation in the process. Not everything is totally synchronized with further life, so this is a large storage array that we can use to store material that's going in and out of this step in the process. There's another one like this, kind of on the other side of the wall. It's a little raw material coming into the factory. Remember, what we're building right now will be multiplied fourfold again in the south end of the building. So these storage arrays, what you're seeing in there, it looks pretty big, but we'll have 4 times as much by the middle of next year.
So what will be the bottleneck?
What will be the bottleneck? That's an interesting question. I think that's going to change over time. I don't really know. Typically, in a normal factory, the bottleneck would be the most capital-intensive process. I don't know what that is for this manufacturing. I guess if I had to, I guess it's probably the cell assembly, which we're not going to see tonight. That's up on the 3rd floor. We don't want to take you guys up there. It's a long way up. The cell assembly process is where all the different parts. Part of what we've been talking about here, and then the cans that I described before and the caps all come together in the cell assembly process. But I think it'll shift over time. As the production line matures, there'll be constraints in different parts of the line. Here's one of the AGVs, automated guided vehicles. This one is not powered up anymore. It was a little while ago. But you'll see a few more as we work our way down. They use different guidance technologies. This one uses the magnetic strip on the floor. The one we're going to see in a little bit uses laser. Kind of cool.
machine guns?
Yeah, he's asking about will we be spitting out cells like machine guns? When the south quad is done, there will be 75 cells a second coming up from the south end of the building to the north end of the building. 75 cells a second.
Crazy.
Yeah, it'll be kind of like a machine gun. But it's not all one stream, right? There's parallel streams, but it sounds cool, right? 75 cells a second. We have to consume that, multiple production lines that we're going to have up in Section A that'll consume all those cells coming in. You'll see here in a minute when we make the turn here, Javier and Meredith are going to tell you about formation trays, the carrier form factor that's used to move the cells around. The 75 cells a second will come up through the factory in stacks of 10 formation trays. Each tray has 256 cells in it. So 2,500 cells in a stack coming up, less than 75 times a second, right? Whatever the math is for that, it's not quite as bad as it sounds. But there will be multiple cell assembly lines running in parallel. What we just saw walking through, like the ovens, he said they're going to double for what we have here, and then there's going to be 4 times as many down in the south end of the building for that part of the process. So all of that put together will double the amount of lithium ion capacity cell manufacturing in the world today. It's a lot of capacity. This process that we're just getting ready to go into is an aging process that is actually several steps further along than the last step that we saw, the presses that I described. So there are 3 or 4 steps that occur between that press and this aging process that are all upstairs. So you go from having these very large rolls that are about this large in diameter and maybe this wide coming out of those presses. They go upstairs, and then they go through slitting, and they get cut down to where the roll is this wide, but still a very large diameter. And then you pull out strips from that roll into a jelly roll that's small enough to be able to fit inside of this can. So that's how we get all the chemistry into the can. And then there's a few other parts and connectors and this cap and a few other things that get all pulled together on the cell assembly line. So we go from the assembly line into an area that's called formation, which looks a little bit like what we're going to see in here, although it's different in that each cell location in the formation area, it's a large storage array similar to this one, but each cell location you've got some wiring to charge the cells up, to let the charge go down, and then to monitor their performance and take some data on each and every cell that's manufactured. So it's this huge area, and you're cycling the cells and you're conditioning them and getting them to the point where they're going to be stable and usable in your vehicle. And then they have to come down here into aging, and they'll tell you a little bit more about aging when we get in there.
So they're cycled before they're aged?
They are, yes.
How long does the cycle take?
Can't tell you that. There's process technology that Panasonic is working on. It's, information we don't want to share. Yeah.
So it's information you know about what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's going on here that's, trade secret.
27 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Sounds like they're done in there. Let's make our way this way.
How are the cells put in here then? Is there going to be robots?
How will they get in here?
Yeah.
So this is a storage array. There'll be cranes running up and down this, and you'll see the seats to get from level 3. You'll see them come around the corner. It's just a lift that takes it like a little elevator from level 3 down to level 1.
Each tray individual?
Nope, they come down in stacks of 5.
Do they
All 5 fit in a single spot.
Yep. You'll see a stack when we make the corner. Yeah, formation is supposed to be.
Hey guys, come on down. This is Cortana. She's very friendly. She'll say hi to you. The politest robot you'll ever meet. So be nice to her. She's one of my best friends in the factory. So. She'll be appearing in Dale 5. Hey guys, welcome to Solar House. My name is Javier. I'm a member of the design team. This is basically kind of the end process, the end step of the process you've been following. So you guys have been looking at kind of what happens to the big rolls. You basically make a big anode roll, a big cathode roll. What really happens on the third floor is you cut them up, you wind them up together, and you basically put them inside the cell. These are U2170 cells. Basically, that's what's going into Model 3. Feel free to handle them if you are curious. But yeah, ultimately, all that combination happens on the third floor, and then here's where we kind of keep the cells. And this is basically kind of designed to give you a sense of how many cells we're actually making here at the Gigafactory. Imagine all these different racks filled with a bunch of these trays. Each one of these trays is going to be filled with a ton of cells. And you're basically talking about tens of millions of cells in this room at one time. You know, that's the kind of volume we're talking about for making Model 3. What's nice about the configuration of this factory is actually the finalized cells, so when Tesla needs them, will come out right here, and then 10 feet away it's Section A. So we have a really kind of integrated process, and that's a really kind of a big hallmark of our relationship with Panasonic. It kind of really gives us an integrated feel, it gives us a lot of speed and a lot of cost reductions. Otherwise, you find this stuff in Asia, it's basically traveling over, it's a lot of cost, it's a lot of time, and it's a lot of emissions that you're ultimately saving at. So we think this is a much better solution. That's one of the reasons we have everything under one roof. The other thing to notice is that we have these big kind of seismic bracings, basically for anti-earthquake. But what this really kind of shows is this is the edge of Section B and the start of Section A. So Section A is mostly the Tesla side. We basically do all the power pack production, power cells, as well as module assembly over there. We're getting it ready for production. That's going to start producing cells, pretty soon. And ultimately, but we're not stopping construction. We're still building all sorts of D&E, and that's really the only way to really kind of match the ramp that we're on. The ramp, Elon has definitely called it Ludicrous speed sometimes. It's a big challenge as a designer, but this is kind of the way to do it. I know you guys all like the robot and all sorts of automations, so Meredith's here to talk a little bit more about that as well.
Hey guys, my name's Meredith. I'm an industrial engineer on the factory design team here at Gigafactory. I assume you probably all noticed the robot on the way up, right? This is representative of how we're thinking about moving material about this factory when we get to a full build, right? This is going to be a really big factory if you haven't gotten a perspective for that yet, right? Just walking around right now, think about how much material is going to have to be moving through this system. So we tend to think about Tesla, we think about the product, right? We think about, oh, this manufacturing one's pretty cool, right? We have those big 6-axis robots, which, by the way, you're about to go see, they're really neat. We've got to start thinking about it as more of an ecosystem, right? It's the whole thing, it's the factory, it's everything that moves around within the factory, it's the production line, and it's the product, right? It's the whole thing. Let's make that as efficient as we possibly can. Material handling is a really important way for us to do that. We have a lot of stuff to move around, so let's make it as efficient as possible. This is a good example of that. So you heard Elon say a lot about the machine that makes the machine, right? This is it. This is a really good example of that. You guys are about to go see another good example of that on our production line in Section A. So you'll see an automated pod line and see some of our Powerwall and Power Pack production. So thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. It's really been our pleasure to show off our plan. And thanks so much.
Thank you.
Section A. part of the factory is operated by Tesla. The part that we've been in so far is operated by Panasonic. We're walking along the warehouse area right now, coming up on the pod line. I'll describe briefly how the manufacturing process flow steps you can testify the manufacturing. But all the raw materials come in to this part of the factory and go on this racking that we see to our right, and then the materials fed into the production line. We have two pod lines. We have a power wall line and a power pack line. Pods go into power wall and power pack. The pod is somewhat akin to the battery pack that's in the vehicle. So there are modules that go into the pod. The pod has a metal enclosure that keeps everything safe. We put a pod either in a power wall up in a vertical orientation or stacks of 16 in a power pack. There's a power pack enclosure right there. The power pack and the power wall are stationary energy storage solutions. The power wall for residential products, the power pack for more commercial applications. Oftentimes, power packs will go in, there'll be multiple power packs in an installation. There's some very large installations that are planned that are actually alleviating the need of buying another power plant or building another power plant for an energy grid. So with this much battery storage capacity, you can actually avoid building some capacity that's just there to hit the peak at the hottest part of the day. You can store energy and draw from those batteries instead of building another power plant. One example of how the power pack can be used. Yeah, so the pods are being built. This line on the right is a mostly automated line for building the pods. The first line that came online in October of last year is on the left. It's a manual line. Both of them are making pods. It's the same pod. It's an 18650 based pod that has modules that are the same modules that are in your Model S, Model X vehicles. And then the pods, they move into the Powerwall line.
Yeah, it's fun to pass.
Welcome to Tesla.
Nice.
No riding.
Oh.
No riding is just cool.
It's not currently a plan to make it 18652.
Does it say snow riding?
Everybody but me kind of stay over on this side. Yeah, thank you. Two modules in a pod, and one pod is a power wall, 16 pods in a power pack. This module is the same form factor really that you have in your Model S right now. You'll see it when we make the corner over here. There's a chassis, there's an autogas chassis on the ground. You'll see some, like below the floorboard where the battery pack is, you'll be able to tell where these modules are. You can see the shape in the battery pack enclosure of the Model S.
Yeah, Jason.
There's 16 modules in a Model S. Yeah. 16 like this. take out the weight of the enclosure. So yeah, a little over 200 pounds. All right.
Well, you guys made it to day 2 of the grand opening. So you should be proud of that. Some people left before day 2. You guys stuck it out. So I thank you for waiting. I know it's been a long wait to see our factory. I'm glad you guys were able to see it. I want to take a few minutes to talk about some of the energy products we have. You just saw us making some pods here on our assembly line. Those pods are the building block to our energy products. We take one of those pods, stick it into a power wall that you see here to your right. Power walls for home use. It's got about 6.6 kilowatt hours of energy storage. Charge it during the day from your solar panels, and then the sun goes down at night, you come home from work, you discharge your power wall rather than going back onto the grid for energy. We take 16 pods, we stick it over here in a power pack. The power pack has about 100 kilowatt hours of energy storage. Our industrial customers will take one of these, they'll charge it during the night when utility rates are very low, and then during the day when utility rates are higher and there's peak usage, they'll discharge the battery pack rather than pay the higher rates. To put the capacity of these 2 units into perspective, we have some examples over here. For example, you take a 40-inch flat screen TV. If you run it in your, run it off of your power wall, and it was the only thing you were running, you could watch television for 23 days straight on a single charge of a power wall. Take that television, plug it into power pack, and you're watching television 347 days straight on a single charge. In front of us here, we have the Model S chassis. We're very excited to be making the battery packs for the Model 3 here in the Gigafactory. The Model 3 battery pack will have a similar design to the Model S in that the battery pack will go under the basis, under the chassis of the car, like it does in the Model S. And we're very excited that's one of the products we're going to be making here. Anyways, with that, Eric's going to take you guys on to the next part of your tour, and there'll be some people who can answer questions for you at the end of the tour. Thank you so much for staying up with us. I'll be here all night.
manufactured down there, the automated line, the manual line next to it, feeding into Powerwall. So this is all manual right now. The next version that's being installed upstairs will have a little more automation in it, but this is where the assembly process is for the Powerwall. Power packs, another mostly manual line, is down sort of toward that end of the factory. This is section A that we're in right now. Standing right here, you can see all four walls of the factory. It's roughly the same size as that section D where we got out of the shuttle. This is Tesla manufacturing, 3 stories, so we're growing up in this part of the factory, so we're putting equipment in on level 2 right now, level 3 next, all for supporting the Model 3 manufacturing. We'll build another section to the north of here, which is a little bit bigger than this section. Then we're calling section F, and that'll allow us to have some of that vertical integration that we were talking about earlier, some of the upstream processes. Yeah, so we're getting close to the end of the tour. There will be a group of people that can answer more questions at the end when we make this last corner. I got one more thing to tell you about, and then we'll be done.
Excuse me.
Yeah, if you guys can get in the walkway over here. We have forklifts going up and down this aisle. I don't want you guys to get run over, so if you can come back in, thank you.
Oh yeah. Can you talk about these red leaves?
Yeah, Javier touched on that. These are for earthquake protection. Makes the building a little more rich.
If there's an earthquake, this might break, and then they just maybe a couple cells, knocked off shells.
Yeah, so we've reached the end of the process. So started from the cell manufacturing and walked all the way through to the Tesla part of the manufacturing for the battery products. Right now we have, in terms of finished goods, we've got the Powerwall, as you can see, a big stack of them over here, and the power packs on the left. All the finished goods go out of the docks that are on the other side of this material. This is where your Model 3 battery packs will come out as well. They go to Fremont from here to the assembly lines for Model 3 that'll be in Fremont. Yeah, so that's it in terms of the tour. I want to thank you very much. Josh and I are really happy to see you here. We're really appreciative of the support. You're helping us change the world. We're really excited about it. Glad you could be here for this celebration. Yeah.
Thank you.